Are you just starting out in Rise of Kingdoms and wondering which equipment should you be using? Or maybe you're about to start a jumper group and you're thinking, I need to find the best equipment for the lowest cost. Well, join me to find out. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Shappy Gaming, and I am a sponsored Rise of Kingdoms content creator here to help you build the best account possible in Rise of Kingdoms. Today, we are going to be covering some of the best early game equipment in Rise of Kingdoms for each unit type, that is archers, infantry, and cavalry, and I'll be telling you which sets you should be going for, what some other options might be, and what you should be looking forward to long term when we talk about legendary equipment. Now, this is primarily going to be focused on a lot of the earlier game stuff, and we will be getting into some of the middle game stuff, but if you're looking for a later game equipment guide, be sure to hit that subscribe button right over there, bottom right hand corner, because we will be talking about that in another video linked at the end. Now, without further ado, let's talk about equipment. How does equipment work in Rise of Kingdoms, and why does it matter? So as you can see here, each piece of equipment that you have in Rise of Kingdoms has different bonuses. So you can have archer defense, you can have archer attack, you can have archer health, you can have march speed, and more. And some of the lower level equipments that you're more likely to see in the early game have different benefits depending upon what you're trying to accomplish. Now, bear in mind that in the early game, the majority of the blueprints that you're going to be getting are going to be epic and elite. And these are going to be the most accessible blueprints that you have. There will be some blueprints that you can start to get later on in the game, but my guidance is to primarily focus on that epic and elite, because as we move forward in the game, you do want to make sure that you're forging the right legendary equipment, because if you don't, you really can't go back from it. So that's at a very high level what we're going to be covering today. Now, a couple other things that you might want to know about these different stats. Defense, attack, and health. Typically, what you're going for varies depending upon the unit type, but the general knowledge states that you typically want to be going for health above anything else. So health and then defense and then attack would be my personal ranking, but obviously it depends on you, it depends on what you're planning on doing and how much you plan on spending in this game. So without further ado, let's talk about our very first set that I recommend for you if you are going to be using archers. So let's pull that up for you. This is the first set that we are going to be covering today for archers. And this set plays on a couple of different bonuses from within the game. So what you'll notice here is that we're using the revival headgear, which if we go down here, you can see it gives you 7.5% archer defense. But really, that's not what matters. What matters here is that there's a set bonus of 3% for if you wear two pieces from the same set. Now, what you'll also notice is that this guidance and this guide that I'm sharing with you is primarily focusing on two pieces from the revival set. You have the helmet and you have the pants. The revival pants themselves will give you 7.5% defense. And again, when you're wearing two pieces from this set, you get troop attack plus 3%. Now, don't get misled. You do not always need to get the entire set in order to get good value for your equipment. In fact, for the archer set, I actually advise going away from the full set, and there are a couple different reasons for that. So what you'll notice here is that with this set, you get 28% defense, 13.5% health, 5.5% attack. That is the main breakdown of what you're seeing here. Now, unfortunately, what you can't get is march speed. March speed is really important for archers, but the equipment sets that you have here don't really lend themselves to that. But this is going to be the best set that you're going to be able to have in the early game in order to maximize the efficiency of your different materials, as well as make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck. So this set I really like for a couple different reasons. A, you get to use some of this elite equipment. So what you'll notice here is that the chest plate that we have is actually the Commander's Heavy Armor. Commander's Heavy Armor is an elite piece, but these pieces are actually really easy to come by. And there's a very simple reason for that, and that is the VIP shop. If we come into our VIP shop here, you'll notice that on a weekly basis, you can get elite blueprint fragments, and you get up to 15 of them, which means that after only 2 weeks, you can forge this without any problems whatsoever. So typically, I tend to favor some of these early game elite pieces over some of the epic ones because they're going to be a little bit harder to come by. And you get more value from a crit piece than you do from just a standard crafted piece. In fact, when you do get a crit piece, you can get a bonus of 30% to that. So what we see here is that instead of this archer health of 6%, you're actually getting significantly more than that. I believe this comes up to 8%, which is great value really early on in the game, and it doesn't require a lot of materials. This is the same as why we suggested to go with the Saint Song instead of another different piece of archer equipment. Now, you may be wondering, Shappy, well, that's great for archers, but what do I actually use in the long term? What legendary pieces should I go for first? And that brings us over here. So as we had our early game archer set, we start to phase some of these other pieces out. And my goal for you, as you move from early game into mid game, is that we want you to actually focus on getting some of these other set pieces for the legendary set. My main guidance, go for the Dragon's Breath plate, as well as the Dragon's Breath bow. These two add immense value in the early game, and they can get you started. And not only that, you still get to maintain your buffs from your Revival Helm and your Revival Pants. And as you progress in the game, if you don't have enough legendary materials, you can actually start to refine these to get an even better set than you already have. Last but not least, we went with the Flame Treads because, as I said previously, my guidance is to always go for health if you can. So that concludes archers. Hopefully this is helping you. If it is, be sure to drop a like on the video, and let's move into our next unit type, and that is cavalry. So cavalry are really valuable in the early game, and my guidance is always, if you are going to be a low spender or free to play in this game, go with cavalry troop types. Now, that said, let's talk a little bit about what this set is actually giving us. So with this set, you're getting 29% defense, which is massive. Now, we're not over-indexing on health. We'll actually change to health later on in the game as we begin to progress with our cavalry gear. But 29% defense is massive because you're getting a lot more swarm proof, and you have a little bit of tankiness that you're getting with your cavalry units. Now, you're also getting 8.5% attack with this set because the attack that you're getting is primarily coming from the glove that you have there and the boots that you have there with the Cloud Racers. But we can make changes to that later on, and I'll talk about that. Now, the last piece that we're going to cover here is actually health. So you're getting up to 11% health with this set, but as you'll see when we start focusing on some of the legendary pieces, you can actually fix that really easily. But this is a great set for early game, and again, you see that same logic of let's get an elite piece and let's crit that elite piece as quickly as possible so we can get the maximum bang for our buck. Sure, we do spend a little bit of gold trying to crit it, but we don't spend any additional materials. Now, this seems a little bit difficult. We're looking at 4 different pieces here that are all going to be epic, which for me is kind of a lot when we're talking about the early game. So there are a couple of options. And the first is actually going to be, let's swap our boots. And this is a really easy one because if we come in and we look at the Windswept boots, what you're getting here is you're getting 2.5% cavalry health and you're getting 3% march speed. Now, if you didn't know already, cavalry are going to be the fastest troop in the game. So if you can index on that march speed, you're going to be able to attack your targets and run away from those that are beating you even faster. And as we said earlier, if we're talking about elite equipment, we can easily crit that with no problems at all. So my guidance, if you're looking to change things up a little bit and over-index on health and march speed, you can always forge these boots, which is not a bad move. Now, if you are forging these boots though, what this means is that you're actually going to change your attack bonus from 8.5% to only 3% because you've changed your boots. But you are going to go up from 11% health to 14.5% health, which again, we always love health. But the most valuable thing here is going to be that march speed because once you crit this, you're going to get up to 4% bonus. But if you do this, you may want to have an even cheaper set. And that brings us to this. Now the Windswept set, again, is really valuable in the early game. But if you've already crafted those boots and you think to yourself, you know what, Chappy, I don't want to have to deal with the epic equipment, it takes too long to get, and it's not worth spending my gems on. To which I completely understand. So what you can do is you can forge the Windswept breastplate, and that way you're going to over index on defense here. So you're going to bring yourself up to 27% defense instead of 29% as you previously had with this other piece down here, Dark Lord's Blessing. So you do have a little bit of a hit there. You lose about 2% defense, but you get an extra 4% bonus to your speed, meaning that you now have a total of 8% speed bonus, which is absolutely massive because, again, we do get that bonus from the Windswept set. Not only that, but because you now have 2 pieces of a Windswept set, you're also picking up an additional 2% troop attack. So this is a really cheap, really easy way to invest in your cavalry equipment in the early game. But Chappy, what should I be looking for in the long term? You've shown me some of the valuable stuff in the early game, but what if I want to get a legendary piece? Which one should I forge? Well, I have that covered as well. So the first pieces that I would look for my cavalry are going to be the ones that are going to give me the most bang for the buck for health. And that is going to be the heavy armor of the Wasteland, Hellish Wasteland, which is right here. This is going to give you 11% cavalry health. So you're almost directly trading your defense for health, which we absolutely love. And we're going to do the same thing with our boots, where we're actually going to go from either the Windswept boots, which gave me a little bit of health, or the Cloud Razors, which gave me attack, for the boots of the Hellish Wasteland, which are going to give me 7.5% health. But not only that, because I'm targeting these 2 pieces specifically, I'm picking up the 2-piece troop health bonus from this set. So that's what I would look for if I'm looking for middle game. What can I invest in? And again, as you get further into the game, you can refine these pieces that you have here to make them even more valuable. That said, I'd recommend you refine your epic pieces before you even start looking at refining your legendary pieces, because the legendary pieces require materials, whereas the epics do not. So that concludes cavalry. But Chappy, there's one more unit type. And before I get into that, if you are enjoying this, again, drop a like on the video, hit that subscribe button. We will have another video coming out with some of the more late game stuff, and I hope that you are enjoying. So let's look at some of the infantry stuff. So infantry is actually really interesting because in the early game, there's not a lot of great infantry equipment. You see that there's the Sakura Fubuki, but again, this gives you infantry attack, and we don't want to do that, right? Our goal here is to not have attack so much, but more invest in some of the other areas. So this is the infantry set that I recommend. It's super cheap, and it gives you the most bang for your buck. Now, again, we see that Windswept set coming in because you can easily forge it and you can easily crit it. So you get some infantry attack here, but perhaps more importantly is you're getting some march speed. Cavalry are the fastest troop type, but infantry happen to be one of the slowest aside from siege. And so getting additional march speed on your infantry is going to make it easier for you to actually catch some of these cavalry marches that are running away, and perhaps more importantly, escape the archer marches that are tracking you, because the archers are the slowest of the troops because, again, they have no march speed bonus troops and equipment in the early game. So as you can see here, we're once again critting the Windswept helmet and chest plate. But perhaps the most valuable thing here is actually going to be the Gatekeeper Shield. The Gatekeeper Shield is one of the best early game equipment that you can get, and you can easily crit it, making it so your infantry health bonus goes from 8% to upwards of 10%, which is absolutely massive. In fact, this infantry set will give you 18.5% health, 17% defense, and 6% attack. And you're also getting an additional 2.5% attack from that set bonus that we covered earlier with the Windswept bonus. And again, you do have that 8% march speed here, which is absolutely spectacular. But Chappy, what if I don't want to just use this elite equipment? What if I want to level this up just a little bit? And that brings us to here. This is the infantry set that you can forge. This is all of the different epic equipment. But personally, I'm not a big fan of this. And I'm not a big fan of this for a couple different reasons. One, you're over-indexing on attack. And I really want to make sure that I'm clear here. Attack is fine, but it's not what I would typically go for infantry, because you want to be quick and you want to be tanky in the field because you're not going to be able to run away as easily. And so these attack pieces, mainly this helmet and the chest plate of Ian's Choice, or Quinsoul, are not going to be the best for your infantry setup. And that's why I typically recommend that people stay away from this set. Go with the set that I previously recommended and make sure that you're critting all of your pieces as easily as possible. And as you move into the later game, you can start to focus on some of the legendary pieces. And this is the legendary piece set that I would recommend you focus on as soon as possible, because this helmet that you're getting is actually going to get rid of your windswept set, and you're going to end up with 11% infantry defense, and you can easily get the Hope Cloak, which gives you 12% infantry defense as well. Both of these are really nice to start out. And then if you want to level it up from here, I would recommend that you typically go for one of the other infantry pieces so you can get that set bonus. And I would probably go for the Vambraces of Eternal Empire, or you can go for the boots. Really, it is up to your preference, but that's what I recommend doing as we get started in Rise of Kingdoms. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you have, do be sure to hit that subscribe button right over there, bottom right hand corner, and stick around for more Rise of Kingdoms content. Thank you all. Shappy out.